This is going to be a very interesting video because I have so much to talk about just of my experience with classic MapleStory or MapleStory Classic World, and specifically when we're talking about the beta tests, because I played both of the beta tests and the only two closed online tests that they had. I did also test it when I went to MapleCon last year, and that was one of their first like public or open classic MapleStory World tests. But I will say that this time around, this test, I failed you guys. I definitely dropped the ball. I had a whole week to play MapleStory Classic World, and I ended up just playing 3 days, or like half of the test pretty much. And I'll go over that in a minute, but I just wanted to say that if you enjoy MapleStory Classic World, consider subscribing to the channel, because I'm going to be making a lot of videos revolving around MapleStory Classic World and just MapleStory Classic in general, and other things about video games and just things that I really want to talk about. But I really love MapleStory, so it will probably be a big part of my channel, MapleStory Classic World. And so subscribe if you like these kind of videos of me just talking about MapleStory and just hanging out. Pretty much I started out the game like normal, went through the tutorial, went to everything. Really my goals when it came to these closed online tests was that I was just going to get the exclusive things that were going to carry over, and then I wasn't going to do anything else. The first test I basically did that. I got both of the rings, and this time around I kind of had that same goal in mind. I know that later on in the test they were going to level everyone up to level 100 and allow you to choose any job and all that stuff, just so that we can really get an idea of third job. But guess what? I'm pretty sure that third job is going to be under a huge construction. The team is going to go back and rework everything. So a lot of the information and things that you're seeing about third job in MapleStory right now is not going to be the final thing. And they even said so that they're not going to be adding third job once they release MapleStory Classic. So for the first 3 or 4 months, or however long until they add Orbis and Elnath, third job is going to be reworked. That is not like the official information. All the stuff that you see about the classes now that people are making videos on, that stuff is going to be changed almost immediately. But some of that stuff may also stay the same. We don't know for sure yet until they release everything. So a lot of that could stay the same. A lot of the stuff could change. Who knows? But I don't want to speak on third job too much in this video because I didn't personally get to experience it. I just know about third job from other people's videos and what I've been seeing online, which is so ironic because I was part of the test, but I didn't get to test or play any of that myself. And it's because of that reason of that nothing really carries over. So I don't want to just like play the game, put in a bunch of hours into it and stuff, and then, you know, everything gets wiped. Like I just didn't feel like doing that. And granted, they did allow you, you know, immediate level 100 and all that stuff, and it was really easy for you to be able to access that, so I didn't need to grind. I literally just needed to log in. At that point, I think I was just busy with life and playing other video games like Pokopia. I've been playing that nonstop. But in this beta, I still wanted it to be a little bit different, so I got up to level 15, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna grind. I'm gonna finally try KPQ. I still haven't tried KPQ in either of the tests either, so I'm really embarrassed about that. From what I've been hearing though, people have been saying that KPQ is not that good anyway, like it's not a good thing for farming EXP, but I don't think in classic MapleStory it ever really was. I'm pretty sure most of the EXP farming was the bonus stage at the end of KPQ, and I keep hearing weird things about MapleStory Classic World, just people who maybe just don't remember things right, or just like are starting to make up things. Like honestly, some of the takes I've been hearing online, people have not been making any sense at all. I heard a take about how there wasn't any scrolls, or that scrolling was going to be a big issue, but it's also like the Citizenship shop has scrolls, and it's just a beta test. Like later on, there'll be plenty of scrolls available. People will be selling them, I'm sure. And it is a rare drop. It's always kind of been a rare drop. But I think because of some people's experiences where they didn't see any scrolls or things, they think that, you know, scrolling is now an issue. And I'll get to the stuff, you know, about things being an issue, but some of the things I've been hearing, genuinely, I was just like, what are you guys talking about? So KPQ, I'm really not sure. I can't really say too much about KPQ either because I didn't really experience it, but I don't remember ever like leveling through KPQ only, or it being the only thing. And I prefer it isn't that way. I do want to be able to get all the rewards that I can get from KPQ, and if KPQ or PQs in general are just treated as the modern way to level up really fast, then I don't really like that. I think MapleStory, what they're trying to aim for, at least in the classic world, is they want you to take your time, and they want everything to kind of take its time. They want people to go slow, but these MapleStory players are such sweats. They just want to hit level 200, race to level 200, and that's going to be really hard to do when Victoria Island is like the only place that we can go to when the game first comes out. But it is just interesting. It's very interesting to see all the different perspectives and how everyone kind of plays MapleStory in their own way. I am really going to be taking my time when this game comes out. I have no need to rush any of the content. I mostly just want to be at a point where I have seen all the content that there is to offer, and then when they have a new patch, you know, I'll come back to MapleStory Classic, play it for the new updates, kind of like how a lot of people actually play Final Fantasy 14 is they'll do the main quests, they'll go through the story and everything, and then every time there's a new expansion or there's a new update, they'll come back to the game. And that's kind of how I want MapleStory Classic to be. I don't want it to kind of overtake my life, but to some people who play MapleStory, it's like they're one gamers. I don't know what the exact term is called, but there's these group of gamers where they only play one kind of game. They only play one type of gacha game. They only play Genshin. They only play Fortnite. They only play League. Like, there's these people who they only choose one game. Maybe they'll dabble in other things, but this one game is all that they play. And MapleStory, there's some people that it'll surprise you. MapleStory is like the one game they only play. For some people, it's like modern MapleStory and classic MapleStory. They're adding classic to the roster of dailies now. Which, speaking of the dailies in MapleStory Classic, which isn't really dailies, but people have been giving it that criticism that Citizenship is their way of adding dailies into the game. I don't think it's necessarily dailies. Like, I think there's things that you will eventually like max out in your Citizenship, so it's not really dailies. The only whole point of doing the daily quests and the weekly quests in Citizenship is to get Citizenship EXP or rank or something. And eventually I think that is going to cap out, and then it's just like, okay, you don't have to do dailies or weeklies. And I think that's pretty cool. Like, I really like the Citizenship and what they had to add to it. I think eventually they'll add housing and stuff, which would be really cool as well to have in MapleStory. But it is a little bit concerning because if they did add private housing, then henny-hoing and like sitting around and interacting with people will become a little bit more limited, I guess. So while it would be cool to have MapleStory housing, it's not something we need. And I think if Citizenship kind of stays the way that it is and doesn't try to be more like adding houses like they did, I think they eventually did add it in modern MapleStory, I'm not too sure, but I don't really want to see housing. I don't care for housing. I think it'll just be a waste of resources and all that stuff. So it's better that they just kind of flesh out Citizenship a little bit more. I am interested to see, like, will they have Orbis Citizenship and Elnath Citizenship? And like when Nautilus is eventually added, is there going to be like separate rewards in Nautilus for the pirates? And pirates being added is a whole nother conversation too. That's why this time I really just want to focus on talking about the beta and the closed beta, because so much is going on in the current state of MapleStory. So I mostly just want to talk about my experiences and just kind of like the closed beta test. But I will just mention that it is really cool that they are giving out the mark of the beta, because a lot of people have been asking for that. And so whether, I think you just have to play before the end of November, you can do a quest that will give you the mark of the beta, which is awesome. Because honestly, these chat rings and label rings, I don't even care for them anymore. It is cool that this is actually like an exclusive way to say that, you know, we have actually played the beta versus the people who have the mark of the beta who are just like early players, I guess. But it is cool that they added that. I will give credit where credit is due, and they definitely cooked with that. That's awesome that we're going to get the mark of the beta. One of the biggest things right out the gate I wanted to mention was that the boxes in the beginning for the tutorial, just to get the chair, those need to be instances or something. Like, they need to be specific to just the person playing in their own server, or however you do it, where people are not fighting for boxes, because I really spent like 30 minutes, maybe a little bit more than that, just trying to get a box, which was so stupid. But when you're like a completionist and you really want to get that chair and you don't want to leave Maple Island till all the quests are cleared there, which is like me, I try to complete all the quests that I can in MapleStory. I love doing the quests, which we'll talk about as well. That thing needs to change. They really need to change that. That was so frustrating and unnecessary. And I know some people were like, oh, I was able to bond with people because we took turns, like when the box would spawn and we'd get a 50% chance at getting the drop. And then like, what are you talking about? There's other ways to socialize. We don't need this. Dude, you guys are on one, genuinely. What is going on? And I did kind of want to talk about the pacing, because this was a big thing about the game that people were talking about, is like the pacing of leveling up and quests, for an example. I don't know if Nemi actually said this, but from what I'm hearing, it sounds like they want to focus on the early quests, I think up to even second job, just so that you can do more quests and make them more rewarding and make them feel more rewarding. So I'm like, that's good, and I'm glad that we're focusing on the quests, but I think we should focus on all of the quests in general. Like, there should be awesome quest lines and things. Quest lines, I think, should be treated just as important as PQs, while they shouldn't be too over rewarding in EXP, because I felt like in MapleStory 2, the main story quest that they had literally leveled you up to max level. Like, if you just did that main story quest in, I think, the same day, you could hit max level in MapleStory 2. Like, you just did those quests and that was that. I would hate it if MapleStory Classic ever became like that. I'd never want them to feel like they need to get new players up to speed so they can experience the new content. It's like, no, let the new players experience the game. Everything is new to them, you know? So there is no need to try and get people up to speed, to experience new content and all that stuff. I hope that never happens. It is an interesting thing to talk about too, because new players, and when it comes to old school games, a lot of it is nostalgia. It's a lot of people that have already known the game, they play the game, maybe they're grabbing their friends, and now the whole friend group is hopping on this one person's nostalgic game, you know, and it's a free MMO. Like, people are not going to be against to playing it with their friends. So new people will definitely be playing MapleStory Classic, and it's a perspective that I feel like a lot of people don't really think about. But when it comes to MapleStory, I feel like it's so iconic and it's affected so many people that it will hook the people that it needs, and the whales will come in, and you know, the game will be fine. Like, as health goes and everything, as long as they don't do any ridiculous stupid things like a founders package or something. I'm just kidding. The founders package, I already know about that stuff. The point is, as long as they don't lose our trust, or they don't do anything that's super anti-consumer or, you know, against the players, MapleStory Classic really has a bright future ahead of itself. But as far as new players go, and just keeping that consistent amount of people playing, because without people playing, nobody would, you know, they wouldn't keep the servers up. So new players is surprisingly very important too, and you do want to hook new players as well. I just don't think that if they focus on the early quests and, you know, giving them more rewards and EXP and things like that would be too beneficial. I don't think it would really affect anything. So I think as far as the questing goes, they should just focus on the quality of the quests as far as rewards and what you're actually doing. And I think that would be a lot more enjoyable. I think that would be fun. Maybe like a quest that kind of pushes you around the Maple World or Victoria Island. I know they kind of already have that, but I felt like in the beta, at least when I was doing the early quests, it was just like a back and forth between like Kerning and Henny. And I feel like there should be more. Like, there should be something that sends you to Alinea, something that sends you to, you know, I guess that's really it, huh? Like Kerning and Henny and Pirion, whatever. We just need pirates, man. They better bring Nautilus, and they better bring all that cool stuff too. That would be so awesome. I know a lot of people don't consider pirates to be OG, but I do, and I love pirates, and they're my favorite MapleStory class. I know I didn't start playing MapleStory from the very beginning, since I played when pirates were added, but still, pirates are so sick. They really got to add that into the game, like, as soon as possible. But I'm really excited to see how they flesh out the story and everything in MapleStory, which is so funny. There's so much that they can do here, and having like the beginning of the game and everything, there's so much, like, it could be so awesome. And they have all the old stuff that they could reuse too. So I think when it comes to adding Evan and Aaron and all that other stuff, or even Cygnus Knights, like Cygnus Knights would be cool. They should add Cygnus Knights. I think the Super Explorers and stuff was really awesome, and just like the first beginning version of Cygnus Knights, and they can do a lot with the MapleStory story, but, you know, don't go too crazy now. Don't go too crazy. That's a whole nother discussion. I'm getting so off topic of this beta, but I just like talking about MapleStory, and I feel like this is just fun stuff to talk about. But the main issue of the beta, people kept saying, was Lemon Story. We're back to the whole Lemon Story thing. There isn't enough MP, there isn't enough Mesos. And while I definitely felt that too, so there is no argument about that, it's absolutely true. There is a Meso problem, there is an MP problem. I think it's being blown a little bit into proportion, because we're playing an MMO, we're testing an MMO, we're not testing how fast you can get to level 200, you know? So I think when it comes to that perspective of, look at it from a longevity thing, not like a week test, but like what merching would look like if we had time, if we had MapleStory Classic World for months, like how would the economy look like? But there will be some sort of Meso rate or exchange where it's like the value of Meso to an item, there will be a rate, like that's just normal in a market. And so the point is that how inflated will Mesos get in a few months? How inflated will it get in a year? And then will MP really be an issue at that point? And then there's other MP pots that they can add, there's events and rewards and things. So talking about MP and Mesos, I just feel like those are things that can change. The economy can always change, and inflation is inevitable in MMOs. And so it's only a matter of time where people are playing in the mills and stuff, you know? So while I do think it does make it harder to train because you need MP to even use your skills, I still feel like they're not expecting you to have it right away. They don't want to hand you the keys and be like, all right, just play MapleStory and do whatever you want, level up to 200 if you want, I don't care. It's like, no, you gotta earn it. Like, level 200 needs to be a feeling where when you see a level 200 walk down the street, you're like, damn, that guy's legendary, like that guy's level 200, like, you know, shit like that, where it's like it has an effect and it means something. And I think that, you know, they're expecting us to sit on the chairs, they're expecting us to sit on the ropes and socialize and cool our jets. But I feel like people are just like, we gotta hit level 50 the first week, we gotta, everybody work, this is the most optimal way to run the KPQ. If you mess up the KPQ boxes, you're out of the party, we'll replace you. You know, I don't think it needs to go that far. I don't think it needs to be that dramatic, and I don't think the team wants it to be that dramatic either. I think that as far as Mesos and MP goes, I think it'll balance out eventually. And when people start having their mains and alt accounts, and then, you know, noobs will start begging for mesos and stuff, I think it'll all kind of adjust itself once the game comes out. When they're playing the test, they're thinking, I need to hit this and this before the end of the week, when it's like, we're testing an MMO and this is something that will be long term. And I just feel like that issue, the meso issue, will eventually fall off. I don't know what they could really do for that, but I hope they're not working it too much where it ends up ruining things, you know, where it's like they overfix it. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. And if you guys disagree with me about anything in this video, please leave a comment and we can fight in the comments. I'm down for that. Like, if you want to like get into it, we can get into it. I respond and read all my comments, so let me know what you think, if you agree or you disagree. I did want to talk about, since we're on the topic of mesos and stuff, I did really like how they changed the shops. So there were a few things that they did change where they weren't allowed to put the shops inside of the towns anymore. Like if you had your own player shop, you could still do them out in the wild. And so I really like that change, because then there was people who were, you know, putting out the quest items, putting out MP pots and stuff, like trying to make the services almost. Like it's almost like a Uber Eats for MP. Like go to the famous trading spots, pop up a shop, that's how you make mesos. Go to a famous quest, pop up a shop in front of the NPC or whatever, you know, or in the training area where the quest items are, the drops are, and whoever wants to skip it, give me meso, you know? So I think it gives more value to ETC, and then with crafting too, ETC items are definitely going to be a lot more valued, and the crafting system, oh wow, I'm transitioning so well, guys, like this is awesome. The crafting system in MapleStory Classic, I really liked it. I felt like before, when MapleStory had Crafting Town and they had these different crafting things, it started to get like too much. Like it was like, what are we doing? Why are we mining? Why are we fishing? And why is there herbalism and shit? Like, what is this? This is so dumb. They over convoluted the system. They made things way too extra, and then the cooldowns and stuff, like none of that was necessary. So I really like the crafting system here, and it is proof that, you know, they are kind of keeping things very old school MapleStory. While it's still new, it's still old school. It's like even the same thing with Citizenship. They're adding things that are MapleStory Classic-esque feely, but they're not really, like, they're still modernized in a way. And so I felt that a lot with the crafting system too, and I really liked how it worked. I know some people were saying that the mesos and stuff was also, but like, again, you know, that'll all like teeter out. Like the meso stuff, I'm calling it now. The meso talk, the MP talk, and all that stuff that was an issue in the beta is going to teeter out. It's going to be irrelevant. It's not going to be a long-standing issue. I just feel like, because that's just what happens. Like the economy will come into play on its own, you know? And so I think crafting is really interesting, and how that's going to also affect the market. Also, just the fact that you can put the player shops outside of the town makes it so going to the FM is actually viable again. People will be putting up shops in the FM, and you can actually go through. And it made me think about the Owl of Minerva. Like, does anyone else remember those FM quality of life NX items? Like, are they going to be selling stuff like that? Because it's not technically pay to win, but the Owl of Minerva definitely helps when trying to find good deals and trying to find items in the FM. And so if they did choose to monetize that, I wouldn't hold it against them, but I do just want them to be aware that there are people who have made like the Owl of Minerva like a website where you could search and scroll the FMs, because I think they were able to put a bot that like checks every store in like 2 seconds and then lists everything online. It was insane. I don't even know if that's actually how it really worked, but I just remember a website, Owl of Minerva, and I would go there and I would check all my FM items and stuff through that, because I didn't want to spend NX on the actual owl. So I am curious to see what they do. Like if they add Scissors of Karma, if they add the Owl of Minerva, like what are some of the items that they're going to add in the cash shop that they didn't show us during the beta? Because they were very bare bones with the cash shop. I'm not going to lie. It was the same way in the first beta. In the second beta, it was like the same thing. And I'm curious like what styles they're going to be adding. Like I just want the game to be out already. This is insane. The fact that it's almost like a month from now is going to be the exact release or grand launch or whatever you want to call it, but for us founders, we'll be eating good in like a month and a week. I'm really curious to see it, and I'm curious to see how everything plays out. That's all I really wanted to talk about. I know I didn't touch up too much on the third job skills as much, because I just feel like that stuff is all going to be reworked later, and I'm not really sure if it's worth talking about right now. So maybe down the line we can talk more about third job and skills, and maybe once they actually reveal more information on them. I didn't expect the community to be so split about the founders pack. It looks like people either absolutely hate them, or some people are literally down on their knees ready to, you know, do some crazy strange piece of change for a piece of change, you know? What am I even saying? But just the people who are just down bad for Nexon and don't even care. And then there's people who are like, we're gonna boycott the founders pack. And so I think there's a lot to really unpack there and talk about, but I'm like, do I really want to open up that can of worms? I don't know. But let me know what you guys think about the current state of classic MapleStory. Are you guys excited? Are you cautiously optimistic? And what you thought about this video? I mean, leave a comment down below. I always read and respond as best as I can to every comment. And like this video if you enjoyed MapleStory Classic World, me talking about it and stuff. And subscribe for more videos like this in your sub box. And I'll see you guys later.